Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I've got two new self-published releases from really interesting cartoonist Michael D. Kennedy. I recorded a review of Michael's work, Mint, which is a really cool book, but that just hasn't gone up yet. And since these are new, this will probably go up before that. Maybe I'll release them back to back. Um, but this is a collection of like more New Yorker style cartoons, one-off like images with captions underneath them, and it's a collaborative effort between Michael and his wife Carly. They're both artists and cartoonists. And then Limbo's here is a comic by Michael. So I don't want to give away too much of this since these are new books, but want to give you a look at what he does. This is just one of the many styles. This is Michael's work, one of the many cartooning styles that he has, all the way from like very realistic pen and ink work to this kind of peanutsy type of thing. It's really, really diverse artist, which is one of the things that captures me about his work. Here he's talking about pitching a comic to the New Yorker and it getting rejected and things like that. I quite like this panel here where I'm thinking this is his wife Carly. He's saying that his ideas tend to expand, and so she's saying like maybe have a shorter idea for them. It's not a very big magazine. And then he says, sure, it'll be an extract of a larger postmodern science fiction noir satire, which is kind of what Mint is. And Mint is a very experimental, strange format. It all comes together, but when you see it in pieces, it really feels like pieces of something. And I think that's one of the ways that Michael likes to work, because he does have all these different styles and interests. I think his brain just tends to go to these big, like, postmodern mashup archive type of things. And so I could see why for him, it's definitely he's having a hard time getting these things picked up. But that's what I find really interesting about him, is it seems like his natural instincts just push him towards pushing the limits of what comics are and can be. And so that's where he captures my interest. But I could see why, pitching it would not go well. Here you have a couple more of Carly's comics. These ones are strange. Like the punchlines in both Michael and Carly's work just don't make sense to me. I know they're operating in England, so I don't know if there's like cultural differences there, or what is being talked about a lot of the times. But this is like, gravity exists. Oh no, my hat fell off and now my personality has gone away. Or why are dogs more sophisticated than me? These just aren't things that I feel, so I don't know. But the cartooning, especially, Carly has this like really direct, like childlike quality to her stuff, and then Michael has the more sophisticated, almost like Peter Arno-y. I don't know. It's hard to place, but he's definitely in that tradition. I don't know too much about that tradition either, so that's probably why I'm having problems. And then here you can see some more of his comics, and again, like, they're just things that I'm attracted to the art, but I don't know necessarily what I'm getting out of the story, other than just the fun things, like the guy lives in a house that looks like his head, but they seem, he goes to work and goes to sleep and things like that. So these are, and it even says in the front, these are excuses to play rather than do work. Michael's working on longer form graphic novels and has aspirations, he says in here, to be like doing literary things. And so I really look forward to those work, because on these play works, he really is, showing these kind of interesting approaches to things. And this one is the one that landed for me. The news is basically torture porn at this point. That one I can relate to. But Hinge is just full of incels and berets, my dude. I don't know. I'm assuming Hinge is an app or something, but that's just kind of outside of my experience in life. I don't know if that's a thing in the UK or whatnot. But again, the cartooning is fantastic. And then in this book, it's Michael by himself. He's working just with comics straightforward in Limbos. This one is definitely very surreal and more poetic in presentation, but there's also a pretty clear through line in it. So you've got this character who's obviously supposed to be in a limbo of some sort. He's saying, the idea of my own death has followed a pathless road too, as did my birth. However, my parents ought to shoulder this blame. They never did. So this idea of, like, being stuck in a world that you don't want, I think, being put into life where you don't want it. And then I think the point is, like, as a cartoonist, you're trying to deal with that being stuck by creating. So he says, but alas, after a year in this tomb, I thought to make a world to amuse me, and maybe, just maybe, it would reanimate itself in heaven. So using your abilities as an artist to try and make the world better around you, or to just have like comics, making comics and being a cartoonist is some type of escapism, I think is the theme of this one. And you can see that he's drawing his own world, he's cutting and pasting and collaging elements in there. So it's just that idea of the creator. Then I quite like this scene where the character's reading the newspaper and sees that there's a mystery door that they say needs to go, and he runs and goes through it. And then you get like the mystery door also kind of functioning like a panel in a sense, where it's got like the 4 panels on it. And then he goes into there and starts talking about comics very explicitly. So he's reading a comic, and then you can see him dipping his pen into India ink, and he's working on something called Coffee Shop Comics, but he's spelling it without an E, and thinks that's funny. So it's a strange little book, but I think it has a pretty kind of clear thematic underneath it that's interesting. And again, it's just, you see a different style that Michael's working in. And it's the way that all of his work comes together. When I post the Mint one, you'll see that like each little piece can be confusing, and I think that there's a little bit of that to his body of work as a total, as well as like when you see it all in a bigger picture, it's adding up to a larger statement, which is really, one of the things that I like most about artists, is when each little piece kind of plays a part in a bigger whole and giving me a picture of that. So I'm really interested in Michael as a cartoonist. I don't know that I totally have a grasp on what he's about yet, or at least how what he's about is being expressed through the work. I'm still looking through all the different pieces, but there's something very compelling about it. And yeah, really excited to see a longer form work and continue to see what this artist produced. So go check these out. They're very interesting books. Plaza by Yokoyama Yuichi. This is translated by Ryan Holmberg and is very large for a manga, so that's a really cool feature of this book, this standard manga size. And this is just a 200 some odd page representation of what Yokoyama Yuichi thinks of the Carnival Parade. And he's just made this like relentlessly loud and rhythmic book that pushes all kinds of amazing boundaries of what comics and manga are, and we could not recommend this book more.